Jerem, what are you holding?
I'm holding a rugby ball now.
That is awesome.
I don't know the proper way to hold this, but I'm holding it because we have David Smyth here, the head coach of the men's rugby team.
David Smyth, head coach of BYU Rugby, joining BYU Sports Nation with Spencer Linton and Jaron Jordan. Coach, welcome back to the show. This is, I believe, your first time on the new set, correct?
I believe you're right, yeah.
So
Looks very good up here, lads.
What's the proper way to hold a rugby ball? And remember, it's on radio. You have
the
to
most important
it.
thing is that you don't drop it.
Okay. I'm not
Two
strong
hands
enough.
best, one next, but just don't drop it.
So not the ball pointed up or sideways? Doesn't matter?
Doesn't really matter.
Okay.
Just don't drop it.
Can I do this?
That's right.
Hold it out to the side as I run?
No, because then I steal it.
Two hands.
Yeah.
Then I take it away.
This is good to know for potential rugby players, which are probably watching the show right now. So you have a big match Saturday. You played the other night in a snowstorm against Cal Poly.
Yeah, that
First
was
off,
crazy.
What was that like?
It was terrible, to be honest with you. I mean, that snow just kept on coming, and it was a cold evening. But we got the job done. Didn't look great at doing it, but that was to be expected with the weather.
Now, San Francisco Golden Gate, is that their nickname?
That's the one, yeah.
So they won the Men's Super League, the
Yes.
professional league in the U.S.
Yeah, semi.
And yeah, semi. Okay, and BYU, you are the national champion. So this is the Champions Challenge, college versus semi-pro.
That's correct.
Is that how that's set up?
That's how it's set up.
And you guys win this game most of the time. How do you guys beat semi-professionals?
It's a good question. A lot of the time, I think it's just our boys are up for the game, get their talent going there, and work hard and eke out a good victory. We haven't won all the time, we're about half and half, and tomorrow certainly will be a huge challenge. We're going through some injuries right now and one or two kids missing, so it's going to be a big ask, but I think the boys are up for it. I think they're looking forward to the challenge, so we'll see how it goes. It'll definitely be a tough day at the office.
David Smyth, the head coach of the BYU Rugby team on BYU Sports Nation. Again, Coach, I saw a T-shirt the other day that has been produced that says, "No scholarships, just championships, BYU Rugby." What is it about your team that they're able to succeed at such a high level despite the no scholarship designation?
I think it's just their dedication, to be honest. I mean, first and foremost, they're all good students. They work hard at that, and then, they take playing rugby very seriously. We try and create a high-performance environment for them, and they respond really well and work very hard, and they're rewarded for their efforts on the field.
A guy we might see tomorrow at the blue and white scrimmage is Paula Sike, running back for the BYU football team, who's emerged as a pretty good football player despite no experience. When will he start playing rugby again?
He'll actually be back as soon as spring ball's over. So we play the University of Utah on Friday night, the 4th of April, and I think we're planning on seeing him in that game.
He will debut in that game.
He will probably get some time there for sure, yeah.
Will he be in the starting 15?
Probably not, but we'll wait and see how it goes.
Yeah.
We'll look at injuries and that sort of thing, but the plan right now is to ease him in a little bit slowly.
The Wasatch Cup. We always look forward to that one. David Smyth, BYU Rugby coaches on BYU Sports Nation. Your team went through I don't want to call it a bad loss, but maybe a surprising loss to St. Mary's this year. You don't lose to many college teams. Now that you've had some time to separate from that loss, what did you learn and how did you grow from that setback?
Well, it was good. I mean, I never like to lose. Let me make that clear to start with. But if you're going to lose, I think that was probably a good one for us to lose because it was a wake-up call for the guys. It was our very first game of the season, our first full game, and it just reminded them that, hey, it takes more than just showing up. We got exposed in a few areas there in the game, so it gave us lots of good grist for the mill, as the man says, for training. And
what does the man say for training?
Grist for the mill.
Grits for the mill?
Grist for the mill.
For the mill.
That's right. So the boys had to work hard, had to look at some very specific areas, and in fairness to them, they have. And we got St. Mary's 3 weeks after that, and we were able to turn them over and got back on our winning ways.
BYU Rugby head coach David Smyth is in studio on BYU Sports Nation. Playing Utah is always a big deal, and that's part of this season. That is you play in the Varsity Cup. Essentially, you're playing a bunch of exhibitions that are meaningful in that they prepare you for this tournament at the end of the year, essentially. What is the Varsity Cup, and how is that coming? I think it's, year 3 now?
Year 2.
Year 2.
Varsity Cup is just it's a postseason national championship tournament with a lot of very good teams. There's been a collegiate national champion, I think, in America for the last 34 years. And of the 12 teams in the Varsity Cup, I think 32 of those champions, about 31, 32 championships have been won by one of those 12 teams. So the high caliber rugby, all great institutions, we're all working to the same goal, trying to grow the sport of rugby a little bit on the college campus, get a little bit of national exposure. The final this year is actually going to be televised live on NBC.
Fantastic.
Right before the Kentucky Derby.
From Rio Tinto.
From Rio
in Sandy,
Tinto.
Utah.
That's correct. So it's a great opportunity for our boys to play against good student athletes from other institutions where we're going to be challenged and tested. So we're very excited about it. Last year was the first year. It went very well. Naturally, we enjoyed ourselves because we won it. We're fortunate enough to do that. Our goal this year is to go out and perform as best as we can too, and see how well we can do again. But it'll be a challenge. I mean, some very, very good teams in that field.
Coach David Smyth of BYU Rugby on BYU Sports Nation right now. It takes a unique personality and mentality to succeed at a sport that is as physically as demanding as rugby is. You have some great players, some great characters. I want to go just personality side right now. Who is the most rambunctious, outgoing personality on your team right now?
Probably Sumption, probably Kyle.
The captain.
He's definitely rambunctious, and he's got a huge personality, so he would tick most of the boxes in those categories for sure.
Is he the guy that's screaming at everybody during the game?
He does his fair share of screaming, yeah.
You got to have one of those guys.
That's right.
Who's the next Paul Lasike, if there was one?
Someone with that sort of power on the team we probably don't have right now, but when it comes to finesse and skill sets, one of the Whoopies would be up there.
Jared and
Josh. Johnny Lingo's, fairly skillful player. So they're all,
Did you just call him Johnny
Johnny Lingo or Johnny Rugby?
Muhana, you ugly.
Yeah, no, I like Johnny Lingo better. So that's what we call him.
Is he a 13-cow scrum half or fly half?
Is he a
13-cow?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
As many as you can get on there.
David Smyth of BYU Rugby joining BYU Sports Nation. I just lost all thought processes when
Thinking about Johnny Lingo.
Johnny Lingo. Okay, let's refocus.
Johnny Linehan.
This is such an international flavor on your team. You got guys from New Zealand and Australia, South Africa. What is that dynamic like, managing a bunch of guys that are from really a bunch of different backgrounds?
It's a lot of fun, but it does come with its challenges. This year, the way the team's broken down between players and coaches, we have representatives from 8 different countries and 20 different states. So when you bring all those guys into one room or one field, it's quite entertaining, to say the least. But it does take a little bit of time to get everybody on the same page.
Is Ireland the best of those 8 countries?
No doubt whatsoever.
That's not even a question, right?
Not even a question.
I apologize for asking. David Smyth, the rugby head coach, is on BYU Sports Nation. 2 more home games, San Francisco this Saturday, and then Utah, and then the postseason. Now, if I remember correctly, we've talked before the semis in the Varsity Cup. If you win the quarterfinal, would be in Provo?
That's correct.
A home game.
Here in Southfield.
So you'd play in Provo for a Varsity Cup semi and then the final in Sandy. What kind of advantage does that play towards winning the national title again?
Logistically, just, with Sandy only being a few miles up the road, obviously that's a positive. We can sleep in our own beds, be in our own environment, and not have to travel across country to get where we're going. So that does have some advantages. So we'll try and, get as much out of that as possible.
I've talked to a lot of people that might not be too familiar with rugby, but the overwhelming theme is when they go and watch a rugby match, particularly BYU Rugby, and they see how entertaining it is, they want to keep going back. What is it about the sport that when you get involved makes you want to keep going back for more?
Well, as my wife would say, it's fast-paced, it's moving, it's all action, and it's done in an hour and a half. So you don't have to
last
spend.
part is the part
you
that's
cannot put enough emphasis on
That's
that.
right. She really enjoys that. It's done in an hour and a half.
Next week is the Wasatch Cup with Utah. I believe you guys have won something like 8 straight or something in that.
Something like that, yeah.
When you win that much, you just kind of forget the number. It's always big with Utah. And in the games where you can physically exert yourself, it just feels like it's more of a rivalry, right?
Yeah.
So, of course, basketball is one thing, football is one thing. And then you have rugby, where, hey, no pads, baby. Let's do this.
Let's do it.
Unofficial Holy War. You play BYU. How fun is the Wasatch Cup each year with Utah?
Oh, that's really a highlight of the year for us. I mean, anytime that you get to play against Utah as a great occasion, there's a big rivalry there. Some of the kids in both teams played together in high school. They know each other. We've even had family connections in the past. So it's a big opportunity to get out there and hopefully perform at your best. And against Utah, there's nobody better to perform at your best against than them.
Speaking of pads, Johnny Lingo, or Johnny Linehan, Johnny Rugby, all of the above, said he was afraid of pads. He'd rather just play without pads. That's I was shocked to hear that from him because rugby is such a physical sport. You would think, hey, throw the pads on and it's just going to be, I can almost weaponize those things. But he said he would rather not play with pads.
Yeah, I mean, excuse me, it's something that I can't really talk to very much because I've never worn pads. I don't know what it's like. I think he did for a while, so I'll trust him and believe him when he says he'd rather play without them than with them.
Very good.
Yeah, you don't launch yourself.
Hey, Coach, we have a tradition here on BYU Sports Nation where we have all of our celebrities sign the BYU Rise Up flag for BYU Sports Nation. So can we get your autograph? And while you're signing that, our Twitter question today is, what will the BYU Sports Nation headline be on Monday? What will the rugby headline be across BYU Sports Nation on Monday?
Rugby headline will be that the boys went out, performed very well, and squeaked it at the end.
Okay.
That's a little long, but I think we can fit it on.
Can you get that on there?
Yeah, I think so.
We can get it on. David Smyth, great to have you. Good luck, and we appreciate your time.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.